Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. Tonight, we turn up the beat on a DC original, Gogo. Less than 6 months after opening its doors, DC's Gogo Museum and Cafe is in danger of closing. Founder Ron Moten says soaring costs and dwindling funding threaten not just a business, but a cultural landmark that preserves the music and the movement born right here in the nation's capital. We'll talk about what's at stake, why this museum matters, and how the community can rally to keep DC's homegrown sound and culture vibes alive. Ron Moten, founder and CEO of DC's Gogo Museum and Cafe, joins me. He's also the organizer of the Don't Mute DC movement. Ron, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this important issue.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure thing. Before we get to the current situation with the museum and its future, I wanted to provide a little context. First of all, let's go all the back to what inspired you to open the DC Gogo Museum and Cafe. When did you first start thinking about it, and what was your vision?
So the first vision came in 2009 when I co-produced the Gogo Awards in front of 4,000 people at the Washington Convention Center. Mm-hmm. And I announced from that stage, this was the time where Gogo was still being criminalized, had stigmas on it, etc., that we needed to, have a Gogo museum to preserve our history and culture. I saw the city changing. I saw artists passing away. And I knew it was a time to do it because every other genre of music has a museum to honor the history and culture of that specific museum. That genre of music, and we didn't. And I know, based upon what I've seen all over the world, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will or won't tell it. So when the time was right, I called for it. And we did our first fundraiser, raised like $19,000 all from the people. And then from there, COVID came. And then when COVID left, we went back at it and we started raising the money. Most people say we wouldn't be able to do it. The government's not going to support it. Philanthropy wasn't going to support it. And it was and still is an uphill battle because most of these museums, Brother Fisher, they start off with an endowment or a ton of money. And most of our people in our community don't know that, right? But we opened up, even after we received the money, to get it open, which they said would cost $8 million with a discovery from Gallagher, who builds museums all over the world, who a lot of the Smithsonian museums use and other museums use around the country. And we did it for $3 million. And Dr. Hopkinson was the chief curator and helped me do it, along with a lot of good people from institutions like the Smithsonian, people like Charles Stevenson, people like Darren X. Like, we had a team of people that came together, and that sweat equity allowed us to get it done. But the problem with things like this is that we always do things with nothing. So people expect us to keep on doing things with nothing. And, I don't like to talk about this, but, I had to make a decision. My daughter was supposed to go to college this semester, but I had to wait till the spring because I spent my own money to keep things going, you know what I'm saying? And sacrifices, which I've been doing. Like, I paid myself $1,800 out of $3 million that came to this museum. $1,800. I know nobody on the planet would do that. But that's how invested my team has been in on opening this museum and telling our history, our culture, and our story at a time when museums are being defunded. And you don't have institutions like this where we can really tell our story. So, it's not unusual for me to go through things like this because I'm used to always have an uphill battle to do what I do. But the reason why I called for the fundraiser in particular is not because we were necessarily going to close, because I know how to operate off of fumes. But should I keep telling my staff to volunteer for free? Should I keep waking up every morning and giving all that I got to something that's not putting back to take care of me and my people who work with me? And should we let this place run down, not clean the floors every day? Should we not continue to let the seniors and the children who can't afford to come in, who are Title I students, every week when they come on tours. These are the things that we've been doing for our community, and we see the happiness on their faces. We see the smiles. We see the joy. We bring in other genres of music together. We bring in brothers from Colombia, from Brazil, all these different. We got a brother coming from Memphis, Tennessee, coming up to do jam sessions with Gogo. We had a collaboration song coming out with some brothers from Colombia with Cumbia and Gogo. Like, we're doing things that bring people together. And I close on this, on your first question. What really brought joy to me was a couple of weeks ago downtown. We did something with the downtown bid. We curated, and we had a band from Colombia, and we had the Beat Your Feet Kings and dancers from Colombia dancing together. And we produced a song with the Experienced Band and Jata Freeman. And the people went crazy, but it brought people from all 8 wards of our city together, and every race. And only music can do that. And Gogo is the type of music that can interlock with any music and bring joy and bring the spirit of our ancestors down at a time when we need it.
Let me ask you something kind of a little off topic.
Okay.
Because you were talking about bringing musicians from Colombia. Are you talking specifically about Palenque, the all-Black community in Colombia, east of Cartagena?
Well, these brothers and sisters come from Colombia, but they're not the Palenque people, but we're aware of the Palenque people. I've been there before.
Yeah.
And it reminds you of what you would want to do in your own city. Like, you have your own hospitals, your own school, your own music, your own language, and you work together and support. No crime, no nothing, right?
Right, exactly.
So I'm familiar with it, but these are our brothers and sisters from Colombia, not Palenque. But we did have our brothers and sisters that came from Salvador, Brazil come. Mm-hmm. And we did had Black Alley, and we did a jam session with their drummers and Black Alley performing together. And then we had people from all 8 wards, every race, out back learning how to drum from them. And it was
and the reason I mentioned that was because I was in Palenque in June.
Okay.
And was talking to some of the musicians in Palenque when I said that I was from, DC, and they did, mention that DC sound, Gogo, and we could talk all day just about that kind of connection. And so that's good to hear that Gogo continues to have this international impact. But I do want to go back to why we are here. The museum opened in the spring to much fanfare. What do you believe has happened to put the museum in this position right now? Is it location? Is it difficulty with fundraising? Are you concerned about the federal government shutdown? What would you say?
Well, what puts us in this position is that I was told not to open, but I still open because everybody was like, when you going to open? What's taking so long? So our project got extended another 8 months because the process that you go through of getting permits in DC, which can be very hard at times, right? We deal with the environmental, the trees, and everything else. So I wanted to open because people kept on saying, what you doing? What you doing with the money? Why is it not open? Blah, 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 blah. You know how they do us, right? So not only that, I felt like we will get the support we need when we open, right? And we have a model that's set up that's not necessarily based upon just people giving to us. We have a restaurant that we just opened, a cafe, right? With a chef that serves food from all the different diasporas around the country, around the world that we created. Cuba, Brazil, Mexico, you know what I'm saying? All these different countries, Africa. And then we have merchandise, and then we have event space for corporations and nonprofits who want to rent the space. So we have a model that's starting to build up, and people like Nike is running our museum. Washington Association of Black Journalists, they rent. I'm saying we've had a lot of people rent the building slowly. So we're building up, but normally with most institutions in business, they start off with museums with amount of money to get them through a couple of years because they raised it. We raised enough money to get the work finished, which was a miracle within itself, right? And we opened up for 2 days out the week, and we only scheduled paid tours the other days. But it was in such a demand, like I'll be here, just in here, and people knocking on the door. Are you open? Are you open? And it's like, you got to keep on looking at people and telling them, we only open on Tuesdays and Saturdays for the community. That's what we were doing. So it's like painful. So we open without funding, right? Full funding every day of the week. But guess what? Every day of the week, somebody has to clean the floors. We do free events all the time for our community. Majority of our events, we don't charge people, but we still pay the bands. We don't ask nobody to do anything for free. We got to pay the sound man who come in and does the sound, the clean up. Like all these things cost. So to what we're trying to do is raise enough money to have a fully operating museum where everybody who comes through here and works can get paid, right? And we don't have to keep volunteering while we're raising other monies from, other resources. What happened to us, though, is what you asked about the Trump thing. A lot of institutions that fund Black museums and things like this, right? They stopped giving money, and their funding was cut from a government perspective. And then a lot of philanthropy, they shifted on a lot of us. They went in another direction. I don't know if it's because of fear or whatever it is, but they're not doing it. So therefore, we got to just keep pushing. Like, we're going to make it work one way or another. Like, failure is not an option for us. But we would hate to go back to 2 days out the week and then opening on the only days when people schedule group tours, which they do and they have. Like today, we had 3 big tours come in. We had Whitman Walker come in. We had a busload of seniors come in, and then we had walk-in traffic. You know what I'm saying? So we get people from all over the world come here, and they're amazed. Brother, we have 16 exhibits in here. And out of those 16, 2 of them have hologram, AI-powered exhibits that only the Jewish Holocaust Museum has. We had some people just come from the Motown Museum, and they were like, oh my God, this is way better than the Motown Museum. I liked it, but this doesn't have anything on it. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we know we have a treasure here in Southeast where you have like 8 other businesses that the mayor supported, the city supported, and open up. We have 100 Black businesses in Anacostia. Most people, do you know the connection between this area and Howard University?
There are many, so you'd have to tell me specifically. But even before you get to that, because I've got to take a break in a minute or two, and I want to make sure that we get that fundraiser event information out. What's happening this weekend? Okay.
Yes, you can go to our website, www.gogomuseumcafe.com. And the fundraiser has Raheem Devon. We have we added the backyard band, Miss Kim, Trey, but you got to dress up. No streetwear. All right. It's a juke joint fundraiser. So you come with that swag, or you come with your suit on, but there's no athletic wear. This is a top-notch event for our community. We're going to show people how we do it at the Gogo Museum in Southeast. And we also bringing a brother up by the name of Yellow P from Memphis, Tennessee. And this guy plays, the only guy that I know can play the harmonica better than Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
And he's come up here before, and he played with the Chuck Brown Band the last time we brought him up. So we bring him up. We're going in the studio, record some music with him, but we also are going to, have him perform on that day. And the other thing I left out, brother, we just got finished training a group of young people at Anacostia to be tour guides, one of the biggest industries in DC, all right? And those are the other things that we're doing in this museum. My chef, when we get our other kitchen open that we're trying to get open, she's going to be training young people in hospitality and the culinary arts industry. We have a grant coming where we're going to be training young people how to do sound engineering, right? So this is a living museum. It's just not about, all the performances and exhibits. It's about the culture and preserving and teaching the next generation. So that's what this is all about.
So we just want to remind people this is this coming Saturday. That's
Yes.
October 4th. It's from 2 to 6 p.m. It's at the Gogo Museum and Cafe, and you can find out more information online at gogomuseumcafe.com. Ron, hang in there. I'm going to take a quick break. I want to remind our listeners that you can see and hear this and every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on our website, WHUR.com. The Original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR-FM. This conversation continues on Sirius XM channel 141 and 96.3 HD2 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We are continuing our conversation about the future of DC's Gogo Museum and Cafe. My guest is Ron Moten, founder and CEO of DC's Gogo Museum and Cafe and the organizer of the Don't Mute DC movement. Ron, before the break, you were sharing the Howard University Gogo Museum or Howard University Anacostia connection. Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, so in 1862, what is known as the 11th Street Bridge now was once known as Freedom's Crossing. The reason why it was called Freedom's Crossing is because our enslaved ancestors walked across that bridge into Anacostia, into freedom. They would go on and later build buried farms coming across that bridge every morning from shacks they lived in 8th Street. And after work, they would walk across that bridge at nighttime with lanterns and build buried farms with resource sources from the Freedmen's Bureau. There was so much money left over from when they built buried farms that some of those same slaves, former slaves, took that money from the Freedmen's Bureau. They came from the Freedmen's Bureau and they started construction on Howard University. And Frederick Douglass used to walk across that bridge to work every day to go to the work in the Navy Yard, because his house is 2-3 blocks from the museum. And then he would walk to the White House also to talk to Abraham Lincoln. When Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, Booth rode his horse across that bridge, went up Goodhill Road, out Branch Avenue into Maryland. And there's so much other history here. I could talk for days that people need to know about. So this is a very historic district, all right, where our ancestors came in the water and through the Anacostia River. And it's up to us to preserve it and make sure that not only the museum, but other institutions that are here, over 100 Black businesses in this corridor, all right? And we got to support it because the city has invested a lot over here. And if this doesn't work, it will never happen again. I grew up in Petworth. All the businesses up in Petworth are gone. Pretty much they're owned by us, except for C5 with their brothers and sisters, right? And Marion Berry helped Al Malik buy that building. He's the only person there from where I grew up, right? We can't let what happened in Petworth happen in Anacostia. And we can't expect other people to do it before we start doing it. So it's up to us to save our institutions, especially institutions that have control of their destiny. We have control of our destiny here.
Give our listeners an idea about what the operating cost for the museum would be annually.
So annually, it would be on the low end, just operating, right? Skeleton, $500,000, which we're raising, right? But at least $1 million a year for everything that we do, the events, the programming. Look, our Pepco bill went up 40%. Almost. Yeah,
40%. Yours and everybody else.
Yeah.
So that and look, and that alone,
$1,400 a month.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, when all this stuff adds up, your insurances and everything else add up, you're looking at we got a storage space outside of here. There's another $2,000 a month for our archiving and our mobile museum bus. We have a mobile museum as well that we put in parades. We go to schools. We teach people about our history and culture away from here. So we got a lot going on that we produce that a lot of people thought was impossible. And people who are into museums, right, who really know this stuff, they come in here and it blows their mind. I just had my sister from Sankofa. She came over here the founder of the Sankofa Fest. She was blown away about what we have over here. And I would just ask people, if you want to, before you donate a dime, come and look at it. Come and look at the museum. Mm-hmm. Tell me you coming to see what we got so we can blow your mind and so you can go do what you should be doing, which is donate to something that's very special to our people.
You spoke earlier about, the political climate and the impact that it has had, not just on the Gogo museums, but even, the Smithsonian, Blacksonian, the portrait gallery. Do you believe that the Gogo Museum, which is, let's be honest, is as blackety black as it gets, is in some way, shape, or form, a target of anti-DEI, so-called anti-woke politics?
I think everybody is a victim of that to some degree, but I'm not one to fear or to worry. I feel like it's my obligation to let the people know what we need before we get in trouble, like really in trouble. A lot of people have egos, right? Some people say, I'm not too proud to beg. I ain't begging. I'm just telling you that we have a treasure here and we must preserve something that's for our people. Actually, not just for Black people. This museum is for all people. All people come to this museum and love it. Every single day we get people from different communities, different diasporas, and it brings us all together. And we, in a time like this, all I'm trying to do is get people to help us complete a model for the world to follow. What do I mean by a model for the world to follow? Most museums are built from the top down, which means corporations control them, government controls them, right? This museum is built from the bottom up. It's a big difference. So because we built from the bottom up, we don't have an endowment. We don't have money for operations, so we have to raise it. We have to write for grants. And we have to set up things where we can do it for ourselves. That's why we have our merchandise. That's why we have our kitchen. That's why we have our operations set up for events. We have 2 recording stages. We have 2 sound stages here. We have it set up to bring in resources and money ourselves. We're not stupid, but we just need the support now. Have your job come here and do a retreat here, or your company. Have your business. There's so many different things you can do to support us. With money you might give away somewhere else. So we just ask the people to roll your sleeves up with us and let's take this museum to another level. Our plan in 5 years is to go up. We own 3 buildings right here. It's to go up and build artist housing and expand the museum. That's our goal.
You mentioned before that, and we saw during the the grand opening, the support of the DC government. We remember years ago with Don't Mute DC and how in the aftermath of that, the DC Council was able to codify Gogo as DC's official music. But since then, have you been able to continue to engage the district with help? Because as we know, DC has been fighting with Congress over money that belongs to the district, and they haven't been able to get it. And so is that still an option, or is that kind of out of the window at the moment?
I mean, I think that our city should help fund this museum just like they've helped fund many museums in this city who already have millions of dollars. So that's definitely not off the chopping block. But I didn't get in this to ask my city to take care of me. We're just trying to set ourselves up just like all museums set up. And what they do is just what I'm doing right now. They go and they raise money. They ask the community for money. They ask corporations for money. They ask philanthropists for money. And then they get up and set up streams of revenue within the institution to bring in money. The only difference between us and them is we did not start off with money in the bank, right? We started off with people who love the culture more than they love themselves. And that's how we kept going. And that's how we still going now. You know, a lot of times you do stuff like what I'm doing, and it's almost like an insult when people ask you, well, what's the problem? You just opened up 6 months ago. Would you open up 6 months ago with no money? No, because you don't love your people as much as I love mine. When I first got into doing the work in the community, I worked 9 years straight before I got a dime. So I know how to sacrifice for my people. But should we have to keep on doing that? That's the question.
When you talk about the culture of of Gogo, what do you believe is the moment that has really brought generations together? And let me give you a little context to this. My late stepmother, who passed away in 2022, but years before that, before the pandemic, we were, when I say we the family, we were at the house in Brookland. And my stepmother was a fan of smooth jazz. That's all I knew, and gospel, because she was a woman of faith. But at some point, something came up on the television, and there was Gogo playing, and she started dancing, and she was in her 70s, and I had never seen my stepmother, a woman in her 70s, dance to Gogo. And I found out in a conversation after that she, and I never knew this, way back in the 1950s, she sang in what was called a soul band, not R&B. They called it soul back then. And so I realized that for seniors, because I always saw Gogo, like when you and I grew up, we were kids when Gogo was coming out. It was a young person's music. But what do you believe has helped bridge the gap? Is it the longevity of Gogo? Is it the culture of Gogo? What do you believe makes it so special for everyone?
So first of all, we got to understand the roots of Gogo. Take a picture. The roots of Gogo. Gogo has the Huanca beat in it, which is a Cuban Afro-Latino beat in it that Chuck Brown took with him when he came out the Los Latinos Cuban Afro-Latino band, right? And then it's infused with the Grover Washington Jr. pocket that he had in Mr. Magic, and then other genres of African and funk and soul and jazz music. But the difference between Gogo, it has our ancestors' spirit in it. So it's called the pocket. And that's what Chuck Brown used, so he would have to play 25 songs a night. That pocket that's almost like the Holy Ghost, where it's call and response, so not saying anything but the drums and the congos and the rollatones locking in, right? It's something about that connects us to our ancestors and touches the 7 chakras of our body. And it just does something to it. Just like if you're in the church and you have the Holy Ghost. And most people, no matter what music genre, just like when we brought the brothers from Colombia or Brazil, it feels like home because it's all incorporated in Gogo. So that's what makes it special. Like when I brought the guy and he's coming back from Memphis, Tennessee for our fundraiser, when he gets up on the stage, it don't take him but a minute to fill it out and lock in with Gogo and do a jam session. Same thing with the Brazilians and Colombians or whatever. So it's something special about Gogo because it's one of the few forms of Black music that has not been colonized.
One of the things, and even as I'm thinking back to what you were referring to and the appeal, and now I'm going all the way back to 1981 when I was a freshman at Morgan State University in Baltimore and meeting brothers who were coming from the Boogie Down Bronx, from Brooklyn, from Manhattan, freshmen, and their whole focus was the New York rap scene, the New York rap genre. And I remember there was a brother we called Daryl D. and unfortunately, Daryl is suffering from Alzheimer's disease. But one of the first brothers that I met way back when from New York, who came down looking like Run DMC, the Fat Shoelaces, the Gazelles, the All Black. And I remember in his heavy New York accent saying to me, yo, Harold, what's up with this go-go thing, man? And he said, I really like it. And I think that even though Gogo was much older than 1981, I think that kind of exposure during the 80s, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that that's when we really began to see Gogo's exposure beyond the borders of DC, beyond Fairfax and Prince George's County.
It's interesting that you say that. So two things. One, we're about to do an event with the Downtown Bid. We're curating an event with them where we bring in the hip hop artists and the go-go artists together to show how we sample hip hop. But most importantly, how most people don't know that go-go has been sampled thousands of times by hip hop. So LL Cool J, KRS-One, Will Smith, BG, Fight for Power with Public Enemy, Beastie Boys. I can just keep going down the list of artists and we have that exhibit in the museum where you can hear, right? Both. We're cousins, all right? Go-Go started in 1976, hip-hop in 1975. When hip-hop started, they didn't have a bunch of producers. So they took music of people like James Brown and others, but most people don't know that they sampled thousands of go-go songs to make hip hop, right? So it's important to know the power that go-go has because it was original. It was a culture that people can feel. When Spike Lee came to the 930 Club and saw Sugar Bear performing a song called Shake It Like a White Girl, right?
I remember. Yes,
he said, I gotta have him in this movie. The butt. And because EU started off as a rock band called the Hendrix Experience because they wanted to be like Jimi Hendrix. But then nobody bid in DC, so they switched to a go-go band. So much history like to be told about the music and culture. But I just love our commonalities with hip hop because our music is like a resistance music, right? And when hip hop, I tell people all the time, when people, our enemies got a hold and colonize hip hop, it hurt our people because it went from don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It went from that to even when we were going through something, we figured out a way to make it positive and going through therapy to talk about I'm a killer in, right? I'm going to go pop a Percocet. I'm going to go do this to a woman or do that, right? And guess what? The industry, the powers that be could just as easily go and say, look, I'm going to give you money to write a song like J. Cole. I'm going to go give you money to write a song like Common. But what they realize is and know that throughout history, music and activism have always been used together. It was done with the Don't Mute DC movement. It was done in the 60s with the children when the DJs would tell the children over the radio how to move when 6,300 children went to prison and really were the ones that ended segregation with Martin Luther King when no adults would stand up because they were scared to stand up. You understand what I'm saying? So these are all the things that we understand about the music and the power that it has and why people do what they do to it. And that's why it's so important to preserve go-go music and tell the story, not only of go-go music, because we go back to the Afro-modernity of our music and tell the commonalities of all the music that we created when we left Africa, going to Brazil. That's why we brought the Brazilian drummers here. Going to Colombia. That's why we brought the Colombian drummers here. You understand what I'm saying? All of us are connected. We're not each other's enemies, right? People want to make us enemies. And I also teach people that, listen, there are a lot of good white people out here too. Because when we started with Checker, you know, this all started with a gang in DC before it even became a museum. All right? Right? The gang that owns these buildings with us, okay? Former gang members. And there were Republicans, good Republicans, like the Jack Kemp Foundation that supported me helping gay children. So what I do is I find good people everywhere, whether they black, white, or whatever. And we don't have to agree, because friction with love makes diamonds. I'm going to say that again. Friction with love, which music is, makes diamonds. Friction with bad intentions makes dust, the same dust that we return to when we go into the ground, when we leave here.
It's interesting that you mentioned Grover Washington and Jack Kemp in the same conversation, because both of them are from Buffalo, New York, from Western New York. Yes, Jack Kemp was a congressman, Republican congressman from Western New York. Grover Washington Jr. Is from Buffalo, Western New York.
Right.
Also, when you talk about sampling, one of the other things that I think a lot of people, I should say, a lot of Black people recognize, even when you watch SVP on ESPN, Scott Van Pelt, the intro music to Scott Van Pelt's show on ESPN is you hear the Gogo beat, underneath. Obviously, we know Joe Scott is a big sampler of Gogo, and we could go on and on. And so certainly the genre in and of itself lives. And I think if you're from, the DMV, it's almost like a clarion call. If you hear it, you stop.
Right.
Because you know it. And you definitely have that feeling, about it. I think that when you look at the future of the museum, and you've already done some, as they call, thinking outside of the box, but what other kind of opportunities do you see, or do you believe you will need to keep the museum alive for the next 5 years?
So, like I said, we have to do better at our fundraising. We just need more people to come to the restaurant, come and buy merch. We're going to charge for some events. We haven't charged for any events. So we will be charging for some events in the future. And we just got to do marketing to get people to come out. We had to come up with a marketing plan, which we are working on, to get more people the people that we need to do rentals, who can afford to rent museums to do rentals. So there are avenues to stabilize, and we're slowly getting there. Like I said, I put out the call not because we were going to so much close, but I don't want to go back to being open 2 days out the week. You know what I'm saying? That's like going backwards. Like I said, we opened 2 days out the week because we couldn't afford to have staff here every day, right? So we were open when we had paid tour schedule on the other days. And the 2 days, which were Wednesday and Saturday, we were open to the public. We don't want to go back to that. We got to keep moving forward. And I think we're in a good place. I mean, we've already raised out of $500,000. We raised over $100,000 already. So it's not like people are not hearing us. So that's a good thing. People are hearing us. And this is a campaign. So even after the fundraiser, the campaign goes on. You know what I'm saying? It's not a one-day thing. So people have time to spread the word, come and see the museum if you want to come to see it before you make a donation. Because, I hate to say it like this, we got a lot of ignorant people out here too, man. Social media and the internet have given ignorant people a vehicle just to have something to say, unfortunately. And it used to be a time where people who had a voice had to earn a voice. They had to earn credibility. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times you fight against not just your enemy. Sometimes it's the enemy within who are afraid to try to do what you do, right? And they try to discredit their brothers and sisters no matter what they do out here. So, we need our people who have the hearts, the mind, and the soul of our ancestors to lock in and help not just us, but other people throughout the country create the renaissances in places that we still have the chance to do it. And like I said, this is not just about the museum. People come to the museum and they go shop at other places in historic Anacostia. So this is not only about us. This is about an anchor business that brings revenues not just to Southeast, but to other parts of this ward and district. So and what we want to do from the bottom of MLK, right, all the way to the top at Congress Heights, right, make this the MLK that we want to be. And we also are locked in to our brothers in Baltimore on MLK. Only place where you can go straight up 295 from one end to the other end, you right back on MLK, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Think about it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So we working with our
real quick, because you just brought up something about the broader issue of development. You know, the Starbucks in Anacostia is closing, and that's, when it comes to business and a crowd surge of economics with people spending money, what impact do you believe that that's going to have? Or
none at all. You know why? We have a beautiful business called Grounded that stays packed every day, that was started by two young Black women, one who went to school at Anacostia, third grade Marshall, one from Alexandria. They sold 50,000 plants online during COVID, came up with a plan. The city supported them with one of the grants that I'm talking about, right? And they turned it into a wellness space. They import teas and coffees from women around the world, right? And they sell plants and have events there. And it's a wonderful model. People from throughout the DMV go there. So there might be a reason why they shut down. Alongside, they shut down like 100 stores all over. But
400 across the country. Yeah, 400 across the country. Yeah.
Yeah, so my feeling is that business go right on down to Grounded, because Grounded going to put back in our community. So I'm not mad at that at all. So we creating a renaissance around here, and the best renaissance you can create is local small businesses that are going to pull back into the local economy. So while I have no problem with Starbucks, and sometimes I go and get the tea that's for my sore throat sometimes, right? When I talk a lot, hey, I'm happy for Grounded, and I'm happy for Sapodillas, and I'm happy for Kitchen Savages, and I'm happy for Sweet Tooth, and I'm happy from the Smokehouse. All Black businesses right here in historic Anacostia that are 5-star businesses, not 1 star, not 2, not 3, but 5.
There you go. Ron Moten with the Gogo Museum and Cafe. Good luck this weekend and beyond. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you, sir. You have a blessed one.
You too. That is the Daily Drum for this Tuesday, September 30th. I'm Harold Fisher.